I owed $500 in taxes this year. $500 in taxes. I'm unemployed. That's bullshit. But it is tax season, or was tax season. So it kind of got me thinking, right? What if you didn't pay your taxes? What if you couldn't pay your taxes, right? Because like if you're like me and you're self-employed and you have to spend all your money on rent and shit, you could end up at the end of the year completely broke and find out you owe $1,000 in taxes and you can't even pay it, right? This is a situation that can happen. So I looked into it. You would think that the IRS would show up to your door with a lead pipe, right? Like that Squeezy video, you know, with the soy sauce. They're not that crazy, but they can do some wild shit. I looked into it. I came up with this hypothetical, right? The hypothetical is you're self-employed, you have a small business, maybe a Twitch stream. You get super lucky, something goes viral, and you make like $1 million in like 3 months, right? Like you just freaking pop off. $1 million. You make the $1 million, and the next step is to be as financially irresponsible as possible. Okay, you blow all this money on food, you blow it on travel, you blow it on rent, you blow it on gambling, whatever, liquor. Like the sky's the limit. You spend all the money on things that aren't assets, right? So you literally have nothing at the end of the year. So say at the end of the year, you're fully broke. Maybe you have a small house. Maybe you have like a 2012 Toyota Corolla or something sitting in the driveway. Basically nothing, right? The business is gone. You got no job. You got no more money. Like it's over. You do your taxes and you find out you owe like $100,000 in taxes, right? So the question is, how screwed are you? Like, what is going to happen? Like, are you going to jail? That's what you would think, right? You would think that you would go to prison for this, but no, that's not the first thing that happens. So first thing that happens is the IRS is like, hey, you need to pay. And they try to collect on you. If you're like, I can't pay, whatever, they'll try to garnish your wages. If you don't have a job, wages can't be garnished. And they'll put a lien on your house, which basically means if you attempt to sell your house, the money will go to them first, right? Before it goes to you. I think they can freeze bank accounts so they can like seize an entire bank account. So if you have anything, like they will get it. At some point, the IRS realizes, hey, this guy has literally no money. I think they technically can seize a home, like a house or a car, but I think to do that, they have to go through courts and like they almost never do it. I think they would only do it if you had like an actual mansion. If you had like a really small house, I don't even think they would mess with it. At this point, you're ungarnishable, you're unseizable, you're uncollectible. And that's the thing is you get a special status. The IRS gives you this like Medal of Honor. They give you this big green stamp that says CNC, which stands for currently not collectible. Basically, once you have currently not collectible status, you're immune to the IRS. They can't do anything to you. They can remove the status, so if you came into money again and they found out, then they would come after you. But for the time being, you have no assets, whatever, they can't come after you. Which is cool and all, but I mean, you're gonna be living like complete shit, right? If you've literally got no money. I mean, at best, you're working under the table for cash, or you're getting supported by like a family member or something. At worst, you're literally on the street, you know, with a cardboard sign. Hey, it is what it is, right? Here's what I found out. And the strategy is, after 10 years of having tax debt, it disappears. Like they can't collect on it anymore. Even if you lose CNC status, right? If you had $100,000 in back taxes due and you can tough it out for 10 years with nothing, then after that point, you can go back to working and the IRS won't garnish your wages. Can I at least put some Vinos gameplay on screen? God, this is gonna be such a pain in the ass when I get to the YouTube section, when I actually have to edit this into a YouTube video. I'll just blame it on my brain dead audience. Okay, anyway, back to the taxes. So I wanted to try to find like a real example of this, because this is all still just hypothetical, right? Now, obviously the IRS is not going to publish who's on the CNC list, right? We can't know like how many people are on it, or, you know, what are the tax debts people have on it? Like, where are they now? Because I'm sure there are people that have racked up, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in tax debt and they're literally on the street, you know? I'm sure that happens. But anyway, there have been a number of celebrities that this is sort of somewhat happened to. So one example is Nick Cage. Apparently, this was a while ago. Some of you may not be old enough to remember this, but Nick Cage at a certain point owed I think he owed over $10 million in back taxes. And he couldn't afford to pay the taxes because I think he bought an island and a dinosaur skull or something. But yeah, Nick Cage blew all his money on a dinosaur skull, and he finds out he owes all this money in taxes and he can't pay the taxes off. Now, I think the IRS, if you're in this situation, they try to work with you. Someone like Nick Cage obviously is a pretty successful celebrity, so they know yeah, he can eventually pay this off. He's not going to be on the street, right? A lot of times they'll make offers okay, you can pay this much amount or pay it over this amount of time or whatever. So eventually Nick Cage was able to work off all the tax debt. He took on a bunch of movie roles and paid it off, right? So they essentially garnished his wages as an actor. But there was some really egregious examples. And the thing is, so with Nick Cage, obviously, I think this was a situation where it was somewhat accidental. I just made horrible financial decisions, and that's how I ended up in this much tax debt. Most of the examples you see, though, when people are getting into the millions or tens of millions of dollars in tax debt, it's always due to just a really shady shit. I'm talking offshore accounts, buying gold bars and stashing them under your bed, that kind of stuff, right? You're trying to dodge the taxes at that point. And that's the thing. This is how you actually end up in prison, because that's classified as tax fraud, right? When you're trying to avoid paying the taxes. So at that point, the IRS just sends you to prison. So I looked into it, and the craziest tax debt that I could find was some telecom CEO owed $250 million in taxes to the IRS. And so apparently there were offshore accounts involved, money laundering, that kind of stuff. So he literally spent 9 years in prison for it. 9 years in prison for 250. I wonder if he still had to pay it, right? That's the next question I have is I didn't find an answer to this, but once you've served the prison sentence, do you still owe the taxes after that? Are you still on the hook for the 250 million, or is it just we're good? You paid for it with 9 years of your life? I have no idea. I need to figure it out. But yeah, if you just played hella stupid and were listen, I earned $1 million last year and I gambled it all away, then they really can't do that much. Aside from seize the assets that you already have. But you won't go to prison for that. I don't know. Tax season woes, man. Still pissed that I owed $500 in taxes, though.
Hit that follow button, bitch.